God is not only willing to meet us where we're at, He's also willing to do something so amazing that the only time that we could look back and say how this happened is if we totally give credit to God. You know, if it's all about God, it's all about you, Jesus, then we've got to get total credit to Him for the things in our life. Now Gideon, this mighty man of valor who was hiding in a winepress, he was hiding. God comes to him and says, look, I'm going to do something amazing in your life. And I'm willing to meet you where you're at, Gideon. I know that your faith needs a little bit of a push. But I want you to notice, Gideon, that at the end of the day, when you battle the Midianites and you defeat them, the only way that you're going to be able to look back on this is because, God, I've done something amazing to do it. Now notice this on your outline. It says, so Jerubbaal, that is Gideon, and his army got up early and went as far as the spring of Harod. And the armies of Midian were camped north of them in the valley near the hill of Moreh. The Lord said to Gideon, you have too many warriors with you. If I let all of you fight the Midianites, the Israelites will boast to me that they saved themselves by their own strength. Now get the picture. He gathers this huge army. God, you want me to be this mighty man of valor? I'm going to hire a big army to go with me. I'm going to recruit everybody I could possibly get. And God comes to Gideon and He says, Gideon, look, you've got too many people. There's too many guys on your side. And if you take that many people, I'm thinking that you guys are going to come back, or the Israelites are going to come back and say, look at what we did, not what God did through us. Notice what he says. Therefore, because of their propensity to take credit, Gideon, therefore, tell the people, whoever is timid or afraid may leave this mountain and go home. Now notice what happens. So 22,000 of them went home, leaving only 10,000 who were willing to fight. Now, you got that picture? Here we are, lined up on the battlefield. We're going to war. God has commissioned us. He's told us. He's promised us. And God says, look, Gideon, you got too many guys. Tell all the ones who are a little afraid, who are timid, who don't really want to go to war, you guys can go home. And over half of your army leaves. Right? 22,000. I think a third of them left, right? Over a third of them. 2/3 of them will just take off. And here they are with 10,000 guys willing to fight. It's good to have people who are willing to fight, but if I was Gideon, I'd be wanting the 22,000 now. Notice what happens. But the Lord told Gideon, there are still too many. Bring them down to the spring, and I will test them to determine who will go with you and who will not. What do you mean, God? There's too many? 10,000, 22,000 just walked off, Lord. You want to give me less than what I've got now? Gideon, I'm going to do something amazing. I'm working in the realm of the impossible, Gideon. I want you to notice what he says. Take them down to the spring and test them to determine who will go with you and who will not. When Gideon took his warriors down to the water, the Lord told them, notice this, divide the men into 2 groups. In one group, put all those who cup water in their hands and lap it up with their tongues like dogs. In the other group, put all those who kneel down and drink with their mouths in the stream. Now get the picture. Gideon, there's some water to send everybody down for a drink. This is how I want you to divide them up. The people who get down on their knees and just put their face right in the water, those people, I'll tell you in a second. That's one group. The other group is those who scoop the water in their hand and are drinking it like this, lapping it, the Bible says, with their tongue. Now notice this on your outline. Only 300 of the men drank from their hands. All the others got down on their knees and drank with their mouths in the stream. And the Lord told Gideon, with these 300 men I will rescue you and give you victory over the Midianites. Send all the others home. Oh my gosh. We went from an army of 32,000 down to 300. God, what are you doing, Lord? You know, I don't know about you, but God has often worked in the realm of the impossible in my life, asking me to do things that I just totally don't understand. There's a lot of times when I just don't get it, but I know God's prompting me, and I have a choice whether to go or not. I want you to notice this. It says, so Gideon collected the provisions and the ram's horns of the other warriors and sent them home. But he kept the 300 men with him, and the Midianite camp was in the valley just below them. Now Lonnie mentioned it during the songs that what happened next was Gideon began to panic a little. He began to freak out. I've got 300 men. 300 men to go and fight this great army. Remember earlier we read they were like the locusts who just surrounded the ground. And everywhere you look, there was this great army. And I've got 300 men, God. Gideon collects everything that they've got. They go down and they're right above them. And God comes to Gideon again and says, Gideon, I know that you're still panicking. I know you're not totally convinced yet. But this is what I want you to do. Tonight, sneak down, and I want you to go and listen to what they're saying. Listen to what those people down there are talking about. And so he comes down, he sneaks down, and he goes with one of his servants, and he goes down, and he's listening, and he overhears this story. One of the guys is telling another guy, you know, I just had this dream, and it was kind of weird. It was kind of like this big rock came down and just wiped us off, wiped our tents out, and the other guy said, you know what that is? That's Gideon, getting ready to battle us. He's going to totally wipe us out. They're talking about this. They're afraid of Gideon. They're afraid of his God. I want you to notice on your outline. Actually, is it there? It is not there. Number 3 is there. Let me share that. The third thing I want us to get from this story is this. God is wanting to be my king. God is wanting to be my king. He's willing to meet me where I'm at. He's working in the realm of the impossible. To an army of 300. And not only that, he is wanting to be our king. Now notice this on your outline. When Gideon heard the dream and its interpretation, he worshiped God. He returned to the camp of Israel and called out, "Get up! The Lord has given the Midianite camp into your hands. Divide the 300 men into 3 companies." Now notice what he does. Notice his strategy to win the war. It's kind of laughable if you didn't know God was on his side. Divide the 300 men into 3 companies, and he placed trumpets and empty jars in the hands of all of them with torches inside. "Watch me," he told them. "Follow my lead." He went from being afraid to somebody who says, "Follow my lead." "When I get to the edge of the camp, do exactly as I do. When I and all who are with me blow our trumpets, then from all around the camp blow yours and shout for the Lord and for Gideon." Notice the strategy. Let's surround them. Let's have these lamps in these jars, these lights in these jars, and let's have these horns. And when we start blowing our horn, you start blowing your horn, and let's scream out for the Lord and for Gideon. Kind of a surprising strategy. Gideon and the 100 men with him reached the edge of the camp at the beginning of the middle watch, just after they had changed the guard, and they blew their trumpets, and they broke the jars that were in their hands. And 3 companies blew their trumpets and smashed the jars, grasping the torches in their left hand and holding in their right hand the trumpet they were to blow, and they shouted, "A sword for the Lord and for Gideon." Now, get it. They were attacking him, right? Surprise attack. Here's the surprise. We're not actually going to attack you. We're just going to blow these trumpets. We're going to wave our torches, and we're going to yell out for the Lord and for Gideon. Notice what happens. While each man held his position around the camp, all the Midianites ran. and they cried out as they fled. When the 300 trumpets sounded, the Lord caused the men throughout the camp to turn on each other with their swords, and the army fled. How come they turned on each other? Because it was pitch dark. They were scared to death. They had already thought that they were done.